Parisa East is a music artist and entrepreneur with many years of experience promoting live music events, supporting local talent, and providing quality cultural experiences in Nottingham. In 2009, she launched Acoustical, a live music platform to spotlight emerging artists, giving musicians encouragement to share their original compositions to a respectful audience. With decorated venues and intimate, inspiring performance spaces, the immersive atmosphere captivates all that are present. In 2022, she received an AIM Award as the East Midlands Local Hero, nominated by Dean Jackson of BBC Introducing. So Acoustical is celebrating 15 years. How did it start?
It started when I was working at the Maze, a live music venue. I was just working on the bar there, and I worked my way up into the system. I was in the office helping with the admin side of things. And I noticed that whilst they had live music every night of the week, they consistently kind of had a Monday, Tuesday gap. And so I said, well, can I just run an acoustic night? You know, I'd heard that so-and-so was good, and I'd seen different people perform. I just wanted to run something small. So we just did one random, called it Acoustic Mondays. Then Gaz and Steph at the Maze, who were kind of like mentoring me at the time, they said, oh, so-and-so was like, you know, asked if they can play an acoustic night. Do you want to try and fit them on? So I'd start fitting on these artists. Jake Bug was one of them. From the very first night, we decorated it because Sarah, who was working on the bar as well, she was an NTU fashion student. She had loads of tablecloths, and we were like, yeah, let's decorate. So we put fairy lights, candles, tablecloths down. And then from there, it kind of like spiraled. Like every time someone caught my ear, or if they would apply like to play, we'd get emails and messages all the time. It just built and built from that, really.
How much do you think it's changed over the years?
It's changed a lot. It's much more refined. I get a lot of requests for people to play, but I'm much more selective about who goes on. In the early days, I would put people on that wanted to play, and I wouldn't be as selective about them. But then I found that I felt personally a bit, I don't want to say embarrassed, but I felt a bit off put when I was sitting there and they weren't doing a great job. So I've made it much more selective. Also, I don't put anyone on that I haven't heard either through video or real life or audio, a live performance, even if it's just standing in their kitchen, because studio magic can change a lot of things. And then finally, the way it's changed is the sound has refined much more, like the genres. So it's much more musical black origin now, with the jazz, soul, hip hop, R&B, neo soul, grime. All of those genres were always present there, but now it's become more about that over the last nearly 10 years.
Okay. What's kept you going over the years?
And I think the main thing is all of the talent that exists in Nottingham, the belief that this city could be a musical city on the map, just as Manchester is or London is. There is so much creative talent here, and putting it all together and like providing an experience where people can come, let off some steam and enjoy this talent and be like, wow, they're from Nottingham. That's very motivating. I also feel like the spirit guides me there. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, there's like a sense of purpose and like a sense of like, oh, like God has given me this gift of finding other people's talent and putting it out there and helping them share their story. People that might not get the shine have an opportunity to come to Acoustical. Like, there's very few promoters in the city who will take a chance on some artists, and I'm just like, yeah, well, you sound fantastic to me, so let's get you up there. And then lo and behold, they end up gaining a big following in the city. Yeah, around the world.
What has been the peak and what has been the pit of putting on live events?
The pit can be when you've worked for months and you've come out with like minus £300 that you have to go into your own bank account and draw the money out of. It can be when you have like arguments with artists, when people maybe misjudge you, or you're in a stressful environment and arguments can happen. Plus, I can be quite reactive, and I've had to learn to like control my temper. Like, my tone can be quite harsh, so like I've got into a lot of arguments with people over the years. But then the peak is the feeling of we really pulled that off and everyone's so happy and there's just such joy in the room, and people have been able to leave their stress at home and experience and or been able to talk about their stress on stage, or have come and have been like feeling really shaky in their personal life but have experienced like I say, joy in the room. That feeling is what also keeps me going, because it's like we're bringing some happiness to people's lives.
If you could go back, knowing what you know now and what you've achieved, what would you do differently, if anything?
Yeah.
Sometimes the journey is the journey.
Well, the journey's journeyed. I think I would not put like 20 artists that are playing my event and also playing loads of other events in the same week into a group chat with loads of promoters and cussing them out all in one go. I definitely wouldn't do that. I probably wouldn't send as many voice notes and messages and let people pull up so many receipts on me. And I think I would like care for myself more and have more like security and self-belief, and probably let a few less people tell me about myself, and just have like a few more boundaries and all of that. Yeah.
Is there anyone you want to shout out?
Oh, there's loads of people. Gaz and Steph at the Maze, first and foremost. If it wasn't for them, Acoustical would never have started. Steph, Lance Hume and Dan Beswick are the ones that gave Acoustical its name, because I called it Acoustic Mondays. Then Lance said, when's your next acoustic tickle? Because he played the very first one, the second one, the third one, the fourth one. And then I was like, okay, called the next one Acoustic Tickle. And then they all came to me and were like, why don't you just shorten it to Acoustical? So I was like, cool. So thanks to them, like that helped identify the event. Ben from the Alley Cafe, who's actually Ben from Micro Angel Brewery, he was the second ever person to give Acoustical a platform, and we did events there. And then over the years, like Christine Mystique, yourself, Love Celestine, Sarah Baker, Hannah Money, these artists that helped like decorate the space, made props. Like Hannah Money painted the Billie Holiday painting that we use to this day. Danny JD, Just Jay. There's loads of people that have come in and out of Acoustical and have kind of added their magic to it. Nyron from Riverton Rude Boys, he helped fund Acoustical at one point. We put on Akuanaru together. Vince Wilson, who is Nathaniel's dad from MIM, he helped again. He partnered to do Akuanaru. The guys from Great Northern Inns, and just like it's countless people. I can't name everybody, but yeah, a lot of shout outs to be done.
So you're an artist. How has putting on the live events impacted your career?
In all honesty, I think it made it harder. I think there was like multiple levels to that. So I didn't really have the time and the energy to invest in myself as much. And I didn't really have the self-belief either. Like, I think to be an artist, you really have to dedicate yourself to that craft. But running Acoustical was always like a part-time hustle. I always had like 2, maybe 3 jobs on the side just to keep Acoustical going. And then to kind of fit my own art into that, especially when I was like, oh, I'm not good enough kind of thing, really impacted it. But on the flip side, I've met a lot of artists, producers, musicians, people that I still work with now. I've managed to put myself on stage even if other people didn't put me on stage. And not that I really like doing that. And I've networked and managed to like open a few doors. So I always knew that like a career in the music industry was very difficult. And Acoustical felt like to me a way that I could do that. To, you know, put on other people, to grow a community, but to also be able to give myself opportunities when nobody else was doing that, especially back in 2009, 2010. There wasn't really a lot of people, like Rastarella's one of them, but there wasn't a lot of people that will just put an unknown artist that doesn't really have a lot of material on a stage in front of an audience and pay them. And certainly not me. Like, so yeah, I think there's this, it's kind of everything balances. There's good and bad in every situation. But for a long time, I did find it challenging to be an artist at the same time, for sure.
Is it something you're gonna continue?
Definitely, I need to continue it. Like, if I feel like it doesn't leave me, like if, like I never used to say I'm a singer. Now I'll say it. Like I'm a singer, I'm a vocalist, I'm a writer, I'm a performer. All of these things. I've produced with a group of people. Shout out ATP and Tuesday. about like 5 or 6 songs that are like in their kind of final stages, and there's more to come, and there is going to be music finally this year, because I've never released solo work. I worked with Origin One, and we went to Boomtown Fair and Soundwave Croatia and all over the UK, but as a solo artist, nobody's really seen me yet.
So acoustical is primarily music of black origin. You're not black.
No.
How comfortable have you felt in the space, and how comfortable have people made you feel, or uncomfortable?
Yeah, I have never identified as a black person. I'm Iranian, I'm British Iranian. So, like, call me what you will, but I will not identify as African or Caribbean, and I make that known. And sometimes it does ruffle feathers, because people will think that I'm culturally appropriating, or maybe at times I've made myself feel like, oh, am I taking resources? Am I taking credit for something that isn't me? Because as well, I sing like reggae or jazz or hip hop or soul, and I'm very aware that these aren't genres that my people have created. However, I've been told by a lot of black artists that they appreciate the fact that I provide a platform for them to be themselves, share their art, share their original music, to also provide, like, you know, things like photos and videos, paid performances, to help people like collaborate and network. So that kind of motivates me to keep going. It doesn't always feel okay, but I know that I'm not doing it from a bad place. Like, my intention is to help people and to support them and to showcase something that I think is fantastic. Like, I love music of black origin, and it's always been something that I've been attracted to. So it feels natural, like when I'm putting on jazz and soul artists, to say, actually, this is black music, and to say it with chest as well. Like, so many people will kind of hide behind euphemisms and kind of, oh, it's soulful, it's this, it's that. And I'm like, this is music of black origin. And yes, of course, people of all cultures have contributed to that over the years, but it is what it is. And I'm not embarrassed to say that. So let people say what they will.
Okay. If money was no option, what would you do with acoustical?
If money was no option, I would be booking some really big artists, like even just like kind of like the mid to big artists that we all love. But it would be great to have, like, say, Erykah Badu, for instance, right? Or Sade, like people like that. I would love to go to New York, Brazil, like to just do international acoustical events, like Lisbon, Paris, to get on like the festivals. Like, if not even run our own festival, to have like a stage at so many different festivals, like We Out Here, Across the Tracks, like these like independent festivals that exist, Glastonbury, why not? But yeah, like booking the big artists, taking it international, and popping up at festivals for sure.
I'll be there.
Yeah. Oh, also releasing music, like having kind of like a record label strand of it, because so many artists ask us to manage them. Like loads of art, and I'm like, I wish that I had the capacity to do it all, but we just don't have that right now. Like, without art council money, like, we don't get paid, really, because it's hard to promote events.
It very much is. You work at Confetti. Has this helped you connect with like the changing times and the youth? Because we're in a different space now.
Yeah, for sure. Working at Confetti makes me better at my job, because I'm researching and teaching how to run events, how to market and brand events and artists and all of this at an academic level now. Whereas I would kind of like do things on my grassroots level. Now I'm learning, actually, like I'm teaching, and I'm brushing up on my skills all the time. And with like the young people as well, yeah, just like the language they use, the platforms they use, how they communicate, like kind of understanding from their perspective, like how they discover music and what role it plays in their life. Also that like a lot of students, a lot of people, I've always known that you come to Nottingham and you will not know something like acoustical exists if somebody didn't take you there. Like, you could see it advertised, but you might not go to it. And students are sheep herded into these specific spaces, and trying to break them out of that is like very challenging. So at least now I understand, okay, like they want to get the Snapchat message from their friend, and like, you know, they need to see it on TikTok and this kind of thing. So yeah, it's helping me become more relevant, definitely.
What are your hopes for the future and for this year? It's 15 years.
15 years, the hopes are to become a CIC for one strand, to film a documentary about what we're doing, and to be able to run the events as we are, but also start to take it outside of Nottingham. So we've got a date booked in Manchester. I'm saying, like, I'm talking to CeCe like she's not part of the team. She's very much part of the team. Like, we've got a date booked in Manchester, so we're going to go to Band on the Wall, and that'll be the first acoustical Manchester. I'd really love to get into Leeds, Birmingham, London and Bristol eventually, Sheffield, and maybe start to go international as well. But baby steps, innit? Like, we don't want to rush things, but promote, like, this year celebrating, and maybe get some of the iconic artists back. Like, I'd love to see Jake Bugg back on the stage, or Yasmin Lacey, or, you know, things like that. Like, we've really helped put on a lot of artists at the earliest point in their careers, so for them to come back now at our 15th year would be amazing. So you can find acoustical everywhere. It's acoustic and tickle merged together, so an acoustic ickle. Acoustical _ on Instagram, acoustical everywhere else. We have a website. And if you want to find me, I'm Parisa East. That's Parisa East everywhere.